I'm Kelsey Kenry, and I am a business consultant for mom founders. And today I'm giving you the keys to the kingdom. Let me tell you what I mean. When you started your business, when you had this grand idea that you have now brought to life and created incredible impact, with this idea, you wanted freedom and flexibility for yourself. You wanted to do things on your own terms. The problem is, the further along that you've gotten, the more your revenue has increased, the more that your impact has increased, the more it's taken away from your time for yourself, from your time for your family, and from honestly living the life that you've worked so hard to build. And so today, I want to talk to you about actually getting your time freedom back so that you have a life that you can live, that you can fully invest in the way that you've invested in your business, and so you can fully utilize the financial freedom that you've built. So before we get started, I have a question for you. Do you know the one biggest obstacle that is preventing established business leaders, women, and owners from having work-life balance? Do you know why we have just chalked this up as a myth and instead adopted the idea that when you own a business, it needs to be a 24/7 job? It's probably not what you think. The truth is, this is rooted in the difficulty of letting go. The reason why people don't have time freedom or work-life balance is because of their own choices. And I know that may not be something that you want to hear, but I'm always here to give you the tough love that you need. And today, I'm going to tell you how to get your time freedom back by offering you a different perspective and giving you things that you can start implementing today in the way that you think and the way that you lead. So most leaders think that they are leading well. They think they're not micromanaging. They think, I have an amazing team in place, this is working, and so everything's fine. But they're spending hours every single week, if not every single day, doing tasks that they are afraid of letting go of, and not trusting their team to help. And if you're listening to this and you're like, well, I do trust my team, I do delegate well, I want you to keep listening because it probably could be better, right? When you get to a certain point in business, it's not that you're doing things wrong. It's not that you have gaps necessarily that you need to fill, but it's more about refinement and making things more efficient and optimizing what you've put in place. You wouldn't have built to where you have if things were broken, right? So there's this deep desire for freedom and flexibility. And we just struggle so badly with feeling like, I want that, but I don't see a clear path in which I can have it because of my own choice to run a business. But that's the belief that we have to change. If you're willing to listen here today, and if you're willing to step into doing things differently, if you are committed to knowing that, you know what, I really want to continue to make a bigger impact. I really love the financial freedom that I built, but this doesn't feel good for me anymore. And it's taking away from my ability to parent, my ability to be a good partner. This is why this matters. So there's this deep desire for freedom and flexibility, but it feels impossible, right? It feels like there's no way that I can be in all these places at all these times. And no, you can't. I don't want to give you the false impression that you can completely duplicate yourself. Wouldn't that be nice, right? But actually, on a recent VIP day with a client that I was doing, we always do an evaluation of like how you're spending your time. I really believe in putting together your CEO schedule is one of the first things that I do with clients, because it is structure and it is boundaries that truly kind of force you to look at how you're spending your time and energy, number one, but also put parameters around your work and your life to better set you up for longevity and sustainability, right? So In a recent VIP day, in doing this audit of her time and her energy, we realized that there was something that she was doing that was taking her between 5 and 15 hours a week. 5 and 15 hours a week. Could you imagine getting back 5 to 15 hours? You probably wouldn't know what to do with yourself, but you would probably become a better partner and a better mother because of it. Not to mention a better leader. But we're going to get into why that is. So that's just an example of when we look at things that maybe we haven't paid attention to, or maybe we've just accepted as the norm. When we look deeper into those things, what is possible, right? So the reasoning and why she was doing this task was completely valid in her mind, as it always is to us, because it's our business. We know best, right? And so oftentimes we tell ourselves like, this is something that only I have the skills or the expertise for. It will be quicker if I do it. I don't want to mess it up, or I don't want them to mess it up. So I'm just going to be, perfectionism, cue perfectionism here. And I'm the only one that knows how to do it the right way. Like, these are the tapes that play in our head that continue to enforce us doing things that aren't actually necessary for us to do. So if this sounds familiar, you're not alone, right? So the issue with these thoughts is they're not serving your time or your energy, obviously, but they're also not serving your team. And truthfully, it holds you back from your true potential as a business, which is the opposite of what you want, right? So your reluctance to delegate because you want full control over every aspect, and because you're fearful of possible mistakes or believing that you're the only one that can do these things, it puts more pressure on you. It puts more time on your calendar. But here's the important part. What this actually communicates to your team is that when you don't delegate and fully trust your team, when you aren't empowering and coaching them up and developing them to do new things and create new skills, it shows them that you don't think they're capable. So even though you may say, well, I trust my team, you can trust them, but trusting them and believing they're not capable are two different things. So as leaders who have this desire to create great impact, especially with our work, we oftentimes think about how our work is affecting people. But we have to remember about the people that are right next to us, right? Our children are watching what we are doing for work. They're watching and learning what work means. And our teams are the ones who are interacting with us and see, how we are handling when things are on fire, how we are handling, our own stress and overwhelm. And they're taking notes, right? Whether it's consciously or subconsciously, we have to think about all these eyes that are on us. So you have to think about your leadership. You have to not step on their toes anymore. And if you're constantly jumping in because you think it's showing them that okay, you're a player on the field too, I understand the intention, but you're probably making them feel smaller, which I know is not your intention, right? So having fear about how your team will handle responsibilities because nobody cares more about your business than you do is completely valid. But fear doesn't have to stop you from doing what's best for the future. Right now, thinking about handing off things that come easily to you or to over to your team may cause a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. But if you don't learn to trust them and let these things go, it's going to stop you in reaching your potential as a leader, and you're going to start to feel some resentment because you're not able to create the freedom and the flexibility that you wanted when you started, right? And so then you become an employee of your own job, of your own business. Here's the other thought I have for you. beyond thinking about like, okay, shift your perspective to see how you are actually making people smaller, how you are not creating impact within the walls of your own home or within your own business. Another thought for you is it's never actually going to be quicker to do it yourself. It's costing you time, which is your most valuable asset. Time is our only non-renewable resource. I'm going to say it again. Time is our only non-renewable resource. You cannot get this time back. And I don't say that to instill fear in you. What I say that for is as a reminder of when you think I could just do that, or I can add that extra thing to my plate, or I'll take that over. Every time that you do that, you tap into your most valuable asset, which is time that could be used for what is actually high priority or high on your personal values list, right? And so it becomes a bit hypocritical. It becomes something that feels misaligned because you're jumping in. It's reactive, right? So it's not going to be quicker when you do it yourself, because it's better to sit down and train somebody and try to replicate yourself as best as possible and let them learn and let this person experience and let them develop as people because you've given them that opportunity, than to continue to say, well, I'm the only one that can do this. The difficulty of letting things go, the difficulty that we have with asking for help, I understand. But this is a hurdle that as the CEO and founder of your business, if you don't get over this, if you don't step back and start seeing the bigger picture, if you don't start acting like the visionary of your company, you're gonna get stuck. You're gonna get stuck, and maybe your revenue won't get stuck, and maybe the business will continue to keep growing, but it won't feel good. And that's something we have to start considering as leaders, right? So what really has to happen here is you have to get out of your own way. This is one of my favorite shifts that clients make. When we finally have this session to where they say, it's me, right? Cue Taylor Swift. Hi, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me. Taking ownership and accountability for saying I'm holding my team back by not developing them or not giving them an opportunity. I'm holding my children back by not letting them, jump in to support. My 7-year-old does his laundry. Does he like it? No. But is it instilling confidence in him to show that he can do hard things? Absolutely. Are his shirts on his hangers hung up correctly? Absolutely not. But does he feel proud that he did it himself? Yes. And so it's time for you to get out of your own way. So now that you know that not letting things go, or asking for further help, or trusting and fully depending on your team are actually preventing the impact that you want to make in the world and preventing the freedom and the flexibility that you want, and you know now that you can change this, let's talk about how we can do this, right? Give me the keys. Tell me what to do, Kelsey, right? So first thing I want you to do is I want you to just let people try, right? Whether this is your child, because honestly, the mental load that we carry as mothers and the difference in us as moms and founders is our responsibilities. There is more, right? There is more because we are raising humans, period. And this is not to say that we are better than in any way any other founder, but as a parent with the responsibility of another human, it adds a whole fucking list of a lot of things, right? I have 2 school-age kids. I have one little one, and each of them come with their own list. And so We have to let people try to help us. Expect, here's the key, when you ask people to try, when you say, okay, I'm not sure if this person on my team could do this, I'm not sure if my kid is ready for this, I'm going to let them try. You have to go in it with a realistic expectation of, hey, they're human. The first time that you did this thing that you have the expertise for, I want you to think about the first time that you tried to do something in that realm. Probably weren't that great at it. Expertise is built with continued experience. That means that you have showed up and you've done it. And you've done it again and you've done it again. So if we never did that first step, if we never had that first experience that led to the next one, we wouldn't be where we are. So give the people around you, your team, your family, your children, the opportunity to step up. And then expect there will be mistakes. And the mistakes are where they learn. The second thing, be willing to learn from your team and let them bring something to the table. As the leader of your company, you have one perspective, right? This is my favorite thing that my clients will say is like, I am like a thought partner, right? Because we have our own biases. We've been in it. We're down, head down. And then you have somebody else that's in this overview position that can just sees things completely different, that can offer insights and guidance from a different lane, right? So as a leader of your company, you have this bias, this perspective, this view that you see things. Your team, each of them brings another valuable perspective. This is why I love like running collaborative roundtables. And I say, we have a bunch of brilliant minds here. Let's utilize all of them, right? I want you to utilize that. I want you to ask your team for more input. They have something to teach you, right? Each of these people is in a unique role in their expertise that they can offer something. So use that to its fullest potential. So you might be doing something in a way that suits you because you've always done it that way, and they might know a way to make it more efficient, right? So thirdly, I need you to be a better communicator. You might think you're great at it, but as women, we are inherently perfectionists. We are people pleasers. We avoid hard conversations. And a lot of times we're putting stuff on our plate just because we're like, oh, they didn't really do that well, so I'll just redo it. Instead of clearly communicating, can you do this differently? This is how I want it done. Being more clear when we are delegating. I want you to be better at communicating. I want you to clearly ask for what you want and what you need. I want you to take the extra time up front to make sure that you are delegating effectively instead of like word vomiting, to where you are giving clear deadlines, you're giving clear initiatives, you're giving clarity on all things that you are assigning out, because then there's less likely to be mistakes. There still will be, but they're less likely. And it's usually done to a better quality in a quicker amount of time because there's not a lot of back and forth. So if you think back to any sort of mistakes or failures that have happened, there was likely some sort of communication breakdown or miscommunication along the line. So clearly communicate what your expectations are, the details of what, how, when, where, and everything that they need to get things done. And so they have all the information they need to succeed. Fourth thing, right? We are going to redefine leadership and start making decisions for the long-term benefit. I would say 99% of my clients come to me and they're living in a very reactive state. They're constantly making decisions. They are constantly putting out fires. They're just like firing things off. Things are coming in. They're reacting to it. We help them build a response, right? Instead of like that reactivity that they're living with, which creates a lot of urgency, creates a lot of stress, anxiety. We have to learn how to respond. So your way of thinking as a leader needs to be more long-term focused. We have to make decisions that are sometimes harder for the long-term benefit, right? And we do this a lot with parenting, and there's, again, so much overlap with parenting and leadership because parenting is a leadership position, right? But I want you to think about not living in a constant state of reactivity. And I want you to recognize that constantly putting out fires isn't conducive to your impact. It doesn't allow you to think clearly, and it doesn't allow you to make effective or efficient decisions. So redefine what leadership looks like and feels like to you. And when you make decisions, I want you to kind of step back out of whatever you're deciding. Make sure that you have adequate space to gather all the data and make a very informed, non-emotional decision. And we make those decisions by making the best call for what we see as the most sustainable or best for the long-term vision, right? And lastly, but I won't say most importantly, but very importantly, is knowing your capacity. A lot of times we don't have time freedom because we don't even consider the amount of time that we want to give to our business. When I'm building schedules with people, I'm like, how many hours do you want to work? How many days do you want to work? What's best for your family? When are your kids in school? You know, like, we don't think about these things. And then we have to reverse engineer into, okay, so knowing that, we need to fit our work in there. And so what does that need to look like? Right? So you need to know your capacity. I understand that you're resilient. I understand that you're independent. I'm the same. And those things can often work against us. But in this nature, it's burning you out because you are saying yes to so many things and sacrificing your time and your well-being that it's not serving you. It's the opposite of the freedom and the flexibility that you want to build. So get really honest about what your capacity is, about how much you want to be working. And then you're gonna have to set some boundaries around that, which is a whole other topic that I won't go into today. But I really want you to think about, what is my capacity? And then when things come in, ask yourself, do I have the capacity for that, mentally or physically? That's a filter that you can put in place that will change everything. So this evaluation that I did, this audit of time that I did with the client, we took that 5 to 15 hours off her plate, and it gave her enough time and energy every week to have white space in her days, to have buffers between meetings, to take 2 days off every week from meetings completely, and even schedule personal appointments during her work hours. So that way she could spend more time with her kids and her partner. So your leadership potential and impact are begging you to start letting go and ask for what you need, and depend on the people around you, and be clear in the way that you communicate, right? So if you are trying to figure out how to get out of the constant pull in all directions, if you want to continue to make a bigger impact, but you're recognizing you're on that threshold of like, I built the financial freedom, but I built it without time freedom, and now I need to figure that out, you can definitely book a call with me and get on my wait list. I hope that today this has been helpful to you to see how you can get your time freedom back. And it is truly so possible for us as women, as leaders, and as mothers to make a great, great impact in the world without being stressed and overwhelmed and not feeling good and putting ourselves constantly on the back burner. So thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next week with another video.